Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In the last video tutorial, we were able to create a simple food details page for our food delivery app. So you realize that I've deleted all the food items from my database because someone keeps on messing with my Firebase database, and I'm tempted to just secure the database and then skipping the part of securing your Firebase database because I actually want to do that with you guys. I don't want to do it without you guys knowing. So when we get it, we'll do it together. But the person messing with my, I mean, messing with my Firebase database should stop, okay, and should create his own Firebase account because Firebase is free for now. It's free. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we are going to work on authentication. Okay. But before that, let's quickly add an item so that we can at least see something. Okay. So to do that, I'll just add something and maybe the category be solid or something, and then we can say this is a description, and then the price we will set something like 25.69, and then maybe we have this. Okay, and then we can add it. Okay, we will work on the the images and all that later. So we see food item added successfully, and we can go back. Okay, so we know that we now we get a food item here. So we know that this functionality is the add food item is supposed to be the admin. The user is not supposed to be able to add a food item. Okay, so that is the function of the admin, and we know that when we come here, we click on it, we are able to edit. Okay, it comes here to update the food item. When we double tap, then the food item will be deleted. So all these functionalities are for the admin, not for the user. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we are going to work on authentication, and then when we work on authentication, we are going to route the user, I mean the person trying to use the application. We will check the user type, and then we check whether the user is an admin or a normal user. Then we will route to an admin page. Okay, if the person is an admin, but if the person is a normal user, then we will route to the normal user page, which is this particular page. Okay, or this page and other page. So we have a lot of things to do. So I want to do the authentication before we come to the adding of item to the cart. Okay, so that one will make sense, and then we can do some other stuff. So quickly, we to work on authentication, okay, we will have to get a user model, just like we have this model where we specify the types that we want to accept for a food item. Okay, so we can come here and then create a model here, here, and then that will be the user model.dat. Okay, so in the user model.dat, we can create user, and then we want to accept the username of the user. Yep, and we also want to accept the email. We are not going to accept the password here because we actually don't need the password here. Okay, but we have this username here. We need the phone number. Okay, so the phone number is also supposed to be a string, and we also want to accept maybe, yep, we also want to know the user type. Okay, and what again do we need on this user? Let me just assume that we will need um, the person's first name, and then we will also need the person's last name. Okay, so we have all these fields that we want to accept for the user. Okay, so let's quickly accept it through the constructor. So we will use a name argument. So let me show you something here. So when I do this, okay, when we accept it this way, um, here. Maybe the reason why I'm trying to explain something here is because I think some people have difficulty understanding the Dutch language. But this is not a tutorial for that, so I'm trying to do something. You see, this works. Okay, so the in the this user here becomes the constructor for us to pass in these fields when we create a new user. Okay, but with this one will become positional argument. That means we have to make sure that we pass in the values as they are. We have to pass him in. passing those arguments in order. So we have to pass in the first the username, then the first name, the last name, the email in that order. But then we don't want it that way. So we want to make it named named argument. So name argument that you can specify the name and then you pass in the value. Okay. So with this one, when you make it positional argument, this one in this way, it also become a required field. Okay, that means you have it is compulsory to pass in those values when you create an instance of that user class. Okay, so I'm going to make it um, named argument. Okay, when I do it name argument, that means you can specify the name. I think I've explained this before, but someone asked me. So you can use the curly bracket, and then this one become named argument. Okay, in case you want to make it required, then you can add the required statement here. So let's say add required. I've not done this in my other classes. I mean, even in the food model, it's not inside, but you can go ahead and then import this package. I think meta that I think this is the package. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake in the import. Okay, you see, so when you import this, okay, then you can add the add required there. So that means even though this is a named argument, which in a sense becomes optional, as long as you are adding this keyword or annotation, okay, it becomes um you have to add it. Okay, you have to, it becomes a required field, like you have to add it. Without adding it, you the system will throw an error. Okay, the application will throw an error, so you have to by force add it. Okay, so if you like, you can add required there if you want it that way, but I'm just going to remove it. Actually, I don't need it, I'm just showing it to you. So I will just close this, and then we can, so now we have this field. So later, if you want more fields, we can add them later. Okay, now after creating the user model, we also need a scope model for the user. Okay, so I'll come here and then create user model. User, let me just make it the user scope model dot dot. Okay, and now we can create our class user model here. Extends the model class. Okay, and then we get something like this. So we have this here. Now this is where we are going to write the authentication code here. So we want to when we authenticate, we want to create an instance of a user. Okay, so we will create, let's say, user. Let me just import it. Okay, so the model that we created here is what we are now using here. So user, you can say authenticated user. Okay, so we have this, which is now empty or null. Okay, the value here is null. Okay, so now as we have this here, we can now also create a function that will authenticate, that will help in the authentication. So I can just write a simple code here, simple method here. So authenticate. Okay, and when we are authenticating, we know that we need the user email. Okay, so we have to accept the email, and then we also have to accept the password. Sorry. Now we have to perform HTTP request, and then we have to authenticate. So how are we going to do that? So let's check the Firebase Restful API. Okay, you know we are not using Firestore, those packages. We are not using that. We are using the API. So let's check Firebase auth REST API here. Okay, and then when we go in the, let's see what we get. Okay, so when you check here, you say sign up with email and password. Okay, so when I click here, you can see we say sign up with email and password. And then the method is saying it's a post request. Okay, and then you also have to pass in the content type when you're trying to do the post request, and this is the endpoint. Okay, So this is the URL we are going to use in our HTTP request. But then we also have to provide an API key. Okay. And we in the request body, what we are supposed to pass in is the email address, and then we have to supposed to pass in the password, and then we also have to pass in the value for this. Okay, and this one is saying we have to make sure that it is always true. So when we authenticate a user, whether it's a sign up or a sign in, okay, this will return a token for us, which will show that, oh, a user will successfully sign up or sign in. Okay, so that token, we will use that token in we would use that token to check whether a user is actually signed in or signed up before the user can perform certain functionality. So this one is supposed to be always true. Okay, and then when we perform that function, okay, when we authenticate, when we pass this, the response that we get all this response. Okay, okay. So this through here, this when we pass through here, it will return an ID token which we will receive here, and then we will also receive the email address. We also receive a refresh token, and also we receive an ID for the user that has been created. The ID is different from the token, okay, and then we will also receive a spice in field, okay. That is the number of seconds the token will expire. Okay, so we will have to do something like this. We have to pass in an HTTP request like this, and then we have to pass in this also. Okay, and then we have to pass in the body. So something like this. Okay, we will do that in our code. Okay, so let me show you something before we do this. We have to come to the authentication here. Okay, so this is my Firebase. Okay, you have to come here and then go into the authentication. Okay, and then we have to go into the sign in method. Okay, so in the sign in method, we want to enable this, okay, because we are going to sign in with email and password. All these ones, we are not going to work with this one, okay. So when we come here, we have to enable this one, okay. If you want to do email link powerless passwordless sign in, then you can enable it, but we want to make sure that the user enters a password, okay. So we can save it, and then this is enabled. So when you look at it, we also need an API key when we are using this endpoint. Okay, you see that we need an API key. So the API key, you can get it from let me check. It's supposed to be here. So project settings, and you see this is your web API key. So the reason why I chose to work with Firebase this way is because when you are switching your application from Firebase to, let's say, any other API that you want, then it will become very easy for you to do that because you didn't use the Firestore functions and all that. I mean, those packages that we have. So it will be easy to switch to another API if you want. So we will need this API, okay, web API key here, okay. So for our application, okay. So let's just go here and then copy this code here first. I mean this URL here, and then we know that we are coming to make an HTTP request. So let me just enter my try catch here, okay. um in order to catch errors, okay, and then we are going to make an HTTP request here. So HTTP dot post, and yep, we have to import this then the HTTP package, okay. Okay, okay, as HTTP, and then we have this. Okay, so we know that it's a post request. We saw it from the documentation. Where is it? So it says it's a post request. So we make a post request, and let's say we pass in and then we paste this code there. But then we have to replace this with our API. Okay, so let's copy our API from here. And let's do that. So we copy this, and then when we come here, we can now paste it here. Okay, so we have our API inside, API key inside there. Okay, so now this one is done, but then we also have to pass in the body that we need. Okay, so the body will be, let me just create a map here. Okay, string and then the dynamic. I think by now you know how to create these maps. Okay, map of string dynamic, and let's say of data, and that one is supposed to be, we know when we look at this. Okay, where is it? Yep, we need the email, password, and then return secure token. Okay, so we have to make sure it's just like that, and then we pass in this email that we receive from there, and then we um also need the password and the password. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to do here. And then we have to return secure token, I think. And this one is supposed to be true always. Okay, so now we have this map. Okay, we have to convert it to what, JSON. So I'll import this package, not package, sorry, the convert is in that. Okay, so now we can come here and then convert this map into JSON and then pass it as a body to the endpoint. Okay, so JSON dot encode, um, JSON dot encode, and then we can put the auth data there. So let me just close this for now, and then let me see. I think, okay, yeah. So now we have this, but then you see there's one field that we are also missing. Where is it? So we have to also pass in the content type. Okay, and then we have to do something like this. I'll just copy this. Okay, just copy this and then come here and pass it in as another argument here. So content type, yep, yep. Okay, I'm getting an error. Content type, sorry, let me just clear this and then try to find it here. um Yep. So sorry, we are supposed to add in headers. Okay, so this content type here, okay, is extra headers that we add to the application. So you can see the hyphen h here standing for header. Okay, so we add extra headers there, so we can just copy the code again here, I mean this thing again, and then paste it there. So these are the extra headers that we are adding to the application. And I don't know why the string argument cannot be sent to the map string. Oh, yep. So it's supposed to be a map. So headers, because we have a lot of headers, this is going to be a map like we have before. Okay, so yeah. So it's we have to pass in a map like this. Okay. So this is something that we have to do, and then I will just print any error that shows up. So the error signing up, okay, and then we can print the error here. Okay, so this is for sign up. Okay, because we have to first sign up before we can even sign in, because we don't have anything there. So how now are we going to use this? Okay, first I want to also change this to a sync so that I can use await and then receive the response. Okay, so we can await here. Now how do we receive the response? We've done this in the fetch, in the food item model. Okay, so we can now check for the response, http response, um and then we can wait. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong. Okay, and then I wait for response like this. Okay, so now we get response this way, and that is fine. Okay, so with this response, we can work with the response later. So I'll just go ahead and say printing the response body here, and we can go ahead with this one, response.body. Yep, I think this one should. What is happening? Response dot body. Oh, okay, yeah. Extra S here. Okay, so now I think we have something like this. Okay, so we have to go into our sign up page here. I think we already have the sign up page. Okay, so we have this sign up page here. Okay, and then with this one, okay, okay. Let me just open it from the this side. I think where do we do the sign up? When we proceed to checkup, we go into the sign up here. Okay, so if we've not done this, this is already here. So we have the username, the email, the password, and then this. Okay, we don't have those first name and all that, so that's okay. And then we can let's see. Let me check from where. Um, I already have an account. Let me see where the sign up button is here. Okay, so here this is the button for the the sign up. The code for the sign up button. Okay, so I will extract this code and then make it a simple widget. So I'll change it to build sign up button. It's a long time I started writing this code, so there's some code that doesn't make sense to me, but anyway, build sign up button. Okay, and we can return. Okay, what's wrong with my yep. So we can now return the code that we cut from that place. Okay, so we now have it here and it's just replaced here, so it's just the same code there, but I just make sure that we cut it from that side and then bring it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in gesture detector so that we can use the on tap. Okay, on tap on this. Okay, wrap it with a widget, and that will be the gesture detector. Okay, so now we can use the on tap here, and then we can pass in the function that we want. So what we are going to do, we are going to write a function or a method for our on tap. Okay, that will perform the authentication that we want. So we come here and then we can write some on submit. So that means when we submit the forms, okay, when we submit the form, and sorry for the messages, but anyway, so when we submit the form, okay, this method will be called. Okay, so when we click on this, we want to submit the form. Okay, so here we can call the on submit method. Okay, here, so this method will be called when we click on the sign up page. So I don't know if we performed validation on this. I think we didn't do any validation on this. Okay, it's been a long time I did this thing. Okay, so let's fix all those. So we have this password. I think the secure password is also working. So let's do unsaved here. Okay, so that when someone click, we can save those values here. Okay, so on the unsaved, we have to accept the values that the person will enter inside the the test field. Okay, so let me check. We didn't even create any. Okay, let's just do it. Final string email. Okay, we want the email. Not don't do it final. Don't do it final. Final means we can't change it later if we want. If the application running, we can't change it. So let's make it string username. Okay, this field we are doing this first. Okay, and then string password, and then string confirm password. Okay, okay, so now we can accept this field. So this is the username. Okay, and we didn't do any. Oh, really? Okay. So this video, I started recording this video last year. Sorry about that. There are a lot of things that doesn't make any sense. So at this moment, we only have this. Anyway, so let's just go ahead. Okay, and let's just go ahead and then do the unsave. I don't know why I didn't do this. I thought it has been done. Okay, so the on the unsave, we can now go ahead and then accept. Let me just make it make sense here. So we know that what we will receive will be the username. So on save, we want to save the username inside this particular username. So let me just put underscore on them to make it quite to differentiate it from the ones inside. Okay, okay. So here we can now go ahead and say username. This username should be assigned the value that we get, which is the username here. Username, yeah, okay. So we assign this value here. So in case you want to trim the extra spaces when the person enters as here, we can just go ahead and then trim. Okay, so this will remove the extra spaces there. So that's the unsave. But then we have to also validate this. Okay, on validate. Sorry, validator. Sorry, and then we can go ahead with something like this. So with the validators also, we are going to receive the string that will be entered, which will be the username, but we also have to return a message when that validation fails. Okay, so we are going to return we are first going to create and then say error message. Okay, and then if the username that is empty, okay, so if it returns empty, then we can return an error message, or we can say error message here is username field is required. Okay, so we are telling the person that, oh, your username field is required. So we can, this is simple validation, but then you have to do better validation. Okay, so return error message. Okay, so you can perform some more validation. You can also check something like if username sorry, if username, something like if username dot length is less than 8 or something, then you can say, hey, um let me just go ahead, say your username is too short, something like this. Okay, so you can perform this kind of validation, but I'm just going to leave this out. Okay, so now after performing the validation here, you just return the error message. So if it is, if nothing happens, then this becomes null because the initial value is null. And then if you return null, nothing happens here. Okay, so we can go ahead and then do this. For this is the password field. So with the password field, let me check. Okay, so there's the email field here. So yeah, so unsaved. Okay, with the unsaved too, we can also go ahead with this one, string email. Okay, and then we can also pass in email and email here. Okay, just like we did before, and then we can do the validator. So maybe I think I'll work on um extra validation later, but I'm just trying to record this video as fast as I can. So string email. Okay, we are receiving the email, and then we can perform the validation on string error message here. Okay, and then if email does contains, okay, we will just want to check if it contains at. Okay, this is not a proper validation, don't do this. Okay, it's just for learning purpose, but if you want to perform, if you want to really check or validate the email, you have to use regex expression on this. Okay, so maybe I'll do that later, but now let's just do this. Okay, so we do something like this. Okay, then so we are just saying if email does not contain this, okay, then we are going to return, hey, your email is incorrect. So we have to use this here, because if you use contain this, it will return true. But then we want to say if it does not contain. Okay, so we have to use the exclamation mark here to make sure we get the correct thing. So we say error message, and then we can pass in the message that we want to display. So your email is incorrect. Okay, And we also don't want the email to be null. So we check if email um, dot is empty. Then we can also say error message. Uh, your email field is required. Okay, something like this, and then we can return error message. So I guess you know what I'm trying. You're getting what I'm trying to do here. So we also have to check for the password. Okay, this is the password. So unsaved. This is getting long. So on the unsaved here, we can also check for the password here. So with this password, okay, we can check. Sorry, we can just go ahead and save it inside the variable that we created outside up there, and then we have something like this. And we can also check for the validator. Mm, And with the validator, we can also go ahead and then password. Okay, so we have this. With this validator, what I'm going to do is we have the confirm password here. Okay, you let's just go if password dot is empty. Okay, then let's I forgot to create this, so let's do that. String error message. Okay, and we can now go ahead and say error message. What's wrong? Error message is equal to your password is required. Okay, so we do this, and we can now return error message. Since I don't know if I should just remove the confirm password from there. Okay, I don't know if you are supposed I'm supposed to remove it from there, but we can also check nowadays because of this visible thing. Okay, trying to make the password visible, this confirm password is not really important. You know what, I'll just ignore it here. Let me just remove the confirm password from there, and then take the code of that from there also. If you like, you can keep it and then validate it. Where is it? You can do the validation from here. If you can check if you can do something like if password, okay, equals confirm, something like this. I'm just showing you in case you want to keep it, but I don't want to keep it. Like confirm password, the variable that we created up there is commented, so you can't see it there. Okay, then you can do blah blah blah, whatever validation you want to do, but I don't need it. I think because we have this, is okay, you don't have to confirm any password. So I'll just comment this code. Okay, and then there's an error here because we've taken that one out. Okay, so we can unsave it and see what we get. Okay, so now that is gone, we have this one, and that is okay for me. So I think we've done those validation. This on the password, we've saved it in the variable. We've saved this one too, also in the variable. They all make sense at the moment to me. So let me comment this code. We are not using it anymore. So now let's come down here. Now this is where we do the we accept the values. I mean, we perform the function to sign up. First, let me check if I did something here. I didn't do it. Okay, you see, we have our test fields here. We are supposed to wrap this column with a form widget so that we can call the save on the form, and then we can get the values. Okay, so let's just do that. I think we've done this in the add food item page before, so we just go ahead and wrap this with form widget. Okay, but then the form also requires a global key so that we can use the form anywhere. So we can create a global key here, and that should have the form state. Okay, and now we have form key. So we are just creating a key, a global key for our form here. So when we do this, then we can use the key in our form here. So key, and then say form key here. So as long as we are wrapping this whole column here with the form widget, then our when we call the save on the form key, then we can get the values from these text fields. Okay, so now I'll come down here, and then when this button is when the button is clicked and this function is called, what I'm going to do is form key, okay, dot current state dot save, sorry, dot validate. So when you call something, when you do something like this will return true if the validation works, okay, if all the validation were met. So we will wrap it in the if method, okay, because it's going to return true. We are just going to do something like this. If so, whatever it returns, if it returns true, okay, then that means the validation pass. So we are going to say if validate form key dot current state dot validate, and it works, okay, then it means the validation was all met, okay. Then we can go ahead and save the values of the test form field. So save it, okay. So now we have something like this. um so for now, let me just go ahead and print just the values. The email will be email and password, okay. I'm just printing this for, sorry, password. So let's just try something and see. Let me just open here the debug console here and see something. So we have this, okay. In the user, we can go ahead and say blanks in R, and here I can say um let me just use um any email, someone at, because we are not actually someone at gmail.com, okay. And then we can go ahead with someone as a password, okay. So we know that this works. If you click on it, you see it, okay, and then you click on it, it goes. So this is what we are doing. So I'm going to click on the sign up and see what happens. So I click on sign up, and then I see the email. It will be someone that blah blah, and then this, okay. So what happens if I take let's say, let me see if the validation, I take this one off and then try to, so your email is incorrect. So that's just the validation we are doing to check whether it's but you don't do this, you don't validate an email like that, as I said before. So we have this, and then we have our username there, and that is also working. So we know that when we click on it, we get the values, okay. So validation, when the validation is passed, we are able to save it, and then we are able to use the values here. So now how do we get to our user scope model and then use this, okay. You've created, sorry, let me just make it this to be authenticate. So we didn't do it as sign up, okay. The method, we didn't use the name as sign up, but we did authenticate because we are going to use this same method for signing in and all that. So how are we going to use this? So you realize in previous tutorial we created something. How is it? This main model here, which is created as a mixin, okay, and then it uses all the method that from those classes that it performs the mixing on, okay. So when you create a mixing class, any other class that you use on that class, I mean on that mixing class, then you can use those function or those methods in those class, okay, without trying to inherit from them, okay. So I can just go ahead and then add the user model here. So when I use the user model here, then the main model has access to the authenticate method in that user model. You get my point here. Okay. So now when we let me check for something. Okay. Let's go into our user. Let me just, oh, it's here. Okay. So now when we come here, we can now use this authenticate method, okay. So let's go back to the sign up page. Now on this sign up page, how are we going to use it here? Okay, so We can use our scope model on any widget, okay? So we only need this inside here when this thing is clicked. So we can just cut this code here. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me just cut the code from here and then wrap this with a scope model descendant, okay? Please, if you don't understand this place, you have to, this side, you have to just watch previous tutorials on how to connect the scope model, okay? So we do this and then we have to we have to use the builder here. We have to use the build context as ctx. So this is a short form for scope model context, okay? And then we can just go ahead, and you always have to do this and use the main model here, and then we create the model here, okay? So let's import this main model here. So you see why we created the mixing, okay? When we use the main model here, we can easily use those methods in other classes like the food model and then the user model, okay? And then now you can return the code that we cut, and then we can do it this way. So now we have access to this model, and then this model can give us access to the authenticate method, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept the function here, which is the model for, the authenticate function here. So I'll just go ahead here and do something like function. Okay, we are accepting that function as function authenticate. Okay, and inside here we can now accept model dot authenticate. So we don't want to pass in the email and those things. We just want the function, the instance of that function. Let me just clean this whole thing. So we just want it this way. Now when we come here and then we receive that function, then we can easily go ahead and then use that function like authenticate, something like this. And then we can pass in our email, and then we can pass in our password. You get a point here. So this is what is happening. We are now able to get access to this method, and the order we require here is the email and then the password, and then this method will perform. Okay, so let's save our code and let's go to the sign up and then save this one too. You will perform a lot of function here, but don't worry. So I'll just go ahead and then click on this and see what happens. So click on it, and let's check our debug console if we had an error. um we didn't get any error, but then we had a response, okay? So you can see, let me go here, scope model, printing the response. You can see printing the response here. We had a kind, which I don't know what that is, but then we had the ID token, okay? The ID token. We also didn't get our email returned to us. I think we got the email returned to us, but this whole response was shortened because it was not able to display everything inside here because of the token. The token is too much. Okay, but let's go ahead and check our authentication here. So let's click here. And yep, we have the someone at gmail.com, and then we have the user ID here, and I think it worked fine. So we were able to pass in this email and password, and then we were able to sign up successfully. And we will find a way to store this username later, okay? But now we are just focusing on the email and then the password. The reason why we can't just go ahead and save the username inside here is because when you are creating authentication in Firebase, okay, Firebase is only responsible for the email and then the password that you use, the user try to use, but it is not responsible for how you save your user details on the database, okay? So you have to find a way to save the user details on your Firebase, okay? And we will do that later. It will only accept the email and then the password, and that is what we've done. So you won't see any field here showing the password, but then the password has been saved by Firebase anyway. So we have this. So I think currently the authentication for the sign up is working, and we don't have any errors. So I will leave the sign up here, okay? and then I'll continue in the next video tutorial as a sign in. Okay, I'll just record the video now and then upload this ones now. Okay, so we have the sign up working, and that is okay. Let me quickly change certain things because I recorded this video a very long time. There are certain things that doesn't look well. Okay, so like this we have to use a safe area on this, so scaffold, and then we can use wrap with another region of safe area to just remove that tender. Let's see. Yep. And then we can I also want this is too white. I want the background color to be colors dot gray dot. You can skip this. Okay, I'm just doing this, so if you think you don't want it, we are done with this tutorial, but I'm just doing things that I think is okay for me. I think yep, so this is okay. And I don't know, but do you think we need something to close to close this? Because the reason why we brought in we didn't use the sign up at the beginning is because I think, you know what, maybe in video in the next video tutorial. Okay, I'm going to take this thing out. I mean, not like take it out from the tutorial, but then I'm going to bring it as the beginning. Okay, so that it becomes compulsory for the user to sign in or sign up before using the app. Okay, instead of trying to do it, because otherwise I'll be forced to put a close button here so that we close the, but it will make sense. Okay, so I think we will do it like as I'm talking about. Okay, so let's end it here, and then we will continue in the next video tutorial for the sign in page. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Thank you.